Think of this. In the aftermath of various crises, Western countries resorted to extensive money printing to stabilize the economies, which led to significant inflationary pressures and the formation of bubble economies. The US, for example, experienced its highest inflation in 40 years by 2022, a direct result of these expansive policies. Similarly, European nations grappled with price rises, economic uncertainty, and the long-term risks associated with their monetary strategies. In contrast, India adopted a more measured approach. While the RBI did engage in monetary easing, the country avoided the large-scale money printing seen in the West. India's inflation rate has remained relatively stable, averaging around 5.4% in 23-24, far lower than many Western counterparts. The government's focus on targeted fiscal measures and supply-side interventions such as managing food prices and supporting key sectors has helped mitigate inflationary pressures. But was this the case always? Has India always been this prudent with its decision-making? As we all know, India has witnessed several Black Swan events that have had profound impact on its economy. These events, by nature, were unexpected and had severe consequences, often exposing the vulnerabilities in the system. The first was the 1965-66 drought and food crisis. The back-to-back droughts in 1965 and 1966 were catastrophic, leading to widespread crop failure and severe food shortages across India. The Green Revolution had not yet taken full effect, leaving the country highly dependent on food import. The government was forced to import large quantities of wheat from the United States under the PL 480 program, which created a situation of dependency and economic strain. The crisis revealed the critical need for self-sufficiency in food production, prompting the government to accelerate the Green Revolution. However, unfortunately, the response also exposed inefficiencies in distribution and planning, as the food aid did not reach many affected regions promptly, leading to widespread distress and social unrest. Then came the horrific 1991 balance of payments crisis. Well, who can forget that? The 1991 economic crisis was triggered by a severe imbalance of payments problem, where India was left with just enough foreign exchange reserves to cover 3 weeks' worth of imports. This situation was the result of years of fiscal mismanagement, high fiscal deficits, and external shocks such as the Gulf War. The government's response involved a drastic shift in economic policy, leading to liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms. While these reforms laid the foundation for India's economic growth in the subsequent decades, the immediate response was marred by panic and political resistance.
The assembly became a battleground as politicians held microphones and chairs at each other.
The crisis led to a devaluation of the rupee, high inflation, and significant economic hardships for the entire population. The lack of foresight and gradual accumulation of economic vulnerabilities exposed the fragility of India's financial system at the time. And then the biggest, the 2008 global financial crisis. The global financial meltdown hit India hard, leading to a sharp decline in exports, a slowdown in growth, and significant capital outflows. The Indian government responded with a fiscal stimulus package and monetary easing. However, the initial response was criticized for being reactive rather than proactive. The lack of foresight in regulating financial markets and ensuring adequate capital buffers led to a prolonged economic recovery.
Not have lifted the foot that had been kept on the accelerator of growth. We should have pressed on with growth, pressed on with reforms, even while we were continuing our flagship program.
Major losses were seen in sectors like real estate, exports, and banking, where non-performing assets surged. Historically, as a country, we have always been shackled in response to Black Swan events, almost barely being able to make ends meet. But we strongly feel over time, things have changed. There has been an improvement in our nation's response to managing such situations. For the first time, India had leadership that made independent decisions with the well-being of Indian citizens as its primary focus. Unlike previous governments, that often bowed to external pressures. PM Modi's government prioritized national interest over international influence, ensuring that every decision was aimed at safeguarding the future of India and its people. As a result, these independent decisions have paid off in a positive manner. The benefits reaped, both for citizens and the country, stand as a testament to the prudence and foresight of PM Modi's leadership, making a turning point in India's journey on the global stage. We got a sense of the events that have taken place in the past and how we as a country have reacted to those events. But there is a significant merit to analyze and break down how the leadership has managed to navigate events of the current time. Let's break it down together and analyze it. During the COVID-19 pandemic, while many Western countries resorted to aggressive money printing to stabilize their economies, leading to long-term inflationary pressures, India took a different path under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Despite external pressures to follow the same route, the Indian government maintained fiscal discipline, opting instead for a targeted 20 lakh crore Atmanirbhar Bharat package. For instance, while inflation in the US reached a 40-year high, India managed to keep it under control, safeguarding the economic well-being of its citizens. On the healthcare front, India outperformed many advanced economies in its pandemic response. While some Western countries struggled with overwhelmed healthcare systems, India rapidly expanded its medical infrastructure. The number of COVID-19 testing labs increased from just one in January 2020 to over 2,500 by mid-2021. Isolation beds grew to over 1.5 million and ICU beds exceeded 85,000 nationwide. India also launched one of the world's largest vaccination campaigns, administering over 1.5 billion doses by the end of 2021, covering more than 90% of the adult population with at least one dose. India's digital response further set it apart. The COVIN platform efficiently managed the world's largest vaccination drive, and the Arogya Setu app, with over 100 million users, played a crucial role in contact tracing. In contrast, many Western nations faced challenges with vaccine rollouts and digital infrastructure. By ensuring public safety and preventing widespread health crises, India safeguarded its workforce, minimized economic disruptions, and laid the groundwork for a faster and more sustainable economic recovery. In response to the economic shocks caused by the Russia-Ukraine war, the Indian government adopted a firm and independent stance, prioritizing national interests over external pressures. Historically, India has often complied with international sanctions such as those imposed on Iran, leading to increased oil prices domestically and burdening the end consumer. For example, during the sanctions on Iran, India significantly reduced its oil imports from the country, which resulted in higher energy costs and inflationary pressures at home. However, in the case of the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India took a different approach. Despite considerable Western pressure to reduce economic ties with Russia, India prioritized its energy security by continuing and even increasing its imports of Russian crude oil. By 2023, Russian oil accounted for over 20% of India's oil imports, up from just 2% before the conflict. This move not only cushioned the impact of global price increases on inflation, but also reduced the country's overall import bill. India's decision to pursue an independent energy policy in this context reflects a shift towards prioritizing the welfare of its citizens over aligning with Western geopolitical strategies. By securing discounted Russian oil, India effectively mitigated the economic fallout from the conflict, demonstrating a mature and pragmatic approach to global crisis that contrasts with its previous capitulation to Western pressures. These measures, combined with a proactive monetary policy by the RBI, helped stabilize the economy, ensuring steady growth and limiting the fallout from global uncertainties triggered by the Russia-Ukraine conflict. In response to the economic impacts of the ongoing Palestine conflict, India has maintained a balanced diplomatic stance while ensuring minimal disruption to its economy. The government focused on securing energy supplies by diversifying oil imports and engaging with key Middle Eastern partners to stabilize trade. Additionally, India leveraged its strategic reserves to mitigate price volatility in essential commodities. The RBI also intervened to manage inflationary pressures, ensuring economic stability. The government ensured that the macroeconomic fundamentals of the economy remained robust, despite unprecedented challenges that plagued the world. As a result, India's real GDP grew by 8.2% in 23-24, posting growth of over 7% for a third consecutive year, driven by stable consumption demand and steadily improving investment demand. India today is the fastest growing country in the world. After averaging 6.7% in 23-24, retail inflation declined to a mere 5.4% in 23-24. Consequently, India was the only country amongst its peers to traverse a high growth and low inflation path in the period during 21-22 and 23-24. Despite the slowdown experienced in the world economy over the past few years, India has been steadily gaining in market share in global exports, with India recording an all-time high in 23-24, exporting $778.2 billion worth of goods and services. We feel from now on, India's approach to managing future global conflicts will be marked by strategic prudence, diplomatic assertiveness, and enhanced defense capabilities. In cases like potential Chinese aggression towards Taiwan or ongoing tensions in Europe, India is likely to adopt a balanced stance, focusing on upholding international law and supporting peaceful resolutions while safeguarding its own strategic interests. India's growing participation in multilateral forums such as the Quad or BRICS provides a platform to address global challenges collaboratively. India's response to future conflicts will be more mature, characterized by a mix of diplomatic engagement, military readiness, and economic resilience. The country's strategic autonomy will guide its actions, ensuring that it remains a key player in shaping global geopolitics while maintaining its commitment to peace and regional stability. With a steady hand at the helm, the government has navigated global challenges from the COVID-19 pandemic to geopolitical tensions while maintaining a focus on growth and low inflation. Sound economic policies, including targeted fiscal measures, infrastructure development, and fostering self-reliance, have strengthened the foundation of the economy. As India continues to face global uncertainties, we are fortunate to have a leadership that confidently upholds its vision and stands firm on independent decisions, prioritizing the well-being of India and its citizens. Unlike the previous governments that often buckled under undue and motivated international pressure, this leadership demonstrates the vision and tact required to navigate global challenges. Their steadfast approach ensures that India is well prepared to tackle future challenges, driving sustained growth and securing its position as a global economic powerhouse. This is Akshay. See you in the next one.